Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. Today I was walking my dog down around the property and down to the river here. I like coming here because it's nice and peaceful, and I like to think. And I kind of was thinking about something. I wanted to share it with you guys. So I found me this log to sit on and put my camera on the stand there, and figured I'd talk for a few minutes. I was thinking about this river, and it just rained, so the river picked up. There's a spring that flows up out of the ground on the other side of the property, creates this river. And let's imagine that this river is life, just time itself, right? Let's say the spring is where we're born. We come out of the spring. And let's say that the river ends quite a while away. It's a bit of ways before the river ends. I think it meets up with another river, but that's where this creek ends. And let's kind of think about what happens to the river in between the time the river's born and the time the river ends. Well, there's a lot of winding paths the river can go. It'll veer off and turn left, or veer off and turn right. There's also some waterfalls. There's some cliffs, like right in front of me and right behind me. There's two small waterfalls. There's some bigger ones up and down the creek, but so it comes to a place and it has to drop off, and it continues going. There's times where it rains, the water rises and picks up, speeds up, and there's times where there's a drought and the water's just barely trickling, barely moving. There's obstacles, like right behind me. A tree fell last night, fell right in the river, and kind of blocking the path. The river has no problem going around it, but it's still an obstacle, and it still had to move. Now let's imagine that you and I are floating down this river of life. Let's say we started at the spring and we started off. There's sometimes, as we're floating, the rains are going to come, the water's going to pick up, and it's going to be a smooth sail. There's not going to be anything in our way. It's a straight path, and we just float on down it. But then there's going to be times, moments in life where we get to an obstacle. We get to an obstacle like this tree here, and if we're floating in a kayak down this river, we might have to get out of our kayak and do some extra work. Instead of just floating like a breeze, we might have to get out and get ourselves over the obstacle to keep going. There might be times where the water's not rushing as fast. It's gone through a drought. The river's not moving as fast as we like it to. So we might have to start paddling a little harder just to keep up pace, trying to get through life, trying to keep up with life. Then there's other times where we'll get to a waterfall, and we have two options. We can either say, you know what, that's too much. I'm not going to go over that waterfall. It's too scary. It's too big of a jump. I'm just going to stay here, or I'm going to quit. Or we can take the plunge, jump off that waterfall with our kayak, and when we reach the bottom, we noticed it's usually nice and flat, and keeps going. And I like to think of this river as life, and like I was floating down of it, because sometimes life gets really hard. Sometimes we come to obstacles. It can be a breeze for a time, and then there's a tree in the middle of life. There's an obstacle in the middle, and we have to work harder to get around it. Now, once we get around it, we get back in our get back in our groove, and we continue going. Same thing with waterfalls. There could be a big change in our life. Something drastic happens, very dramatic happens. And we decide, you know what, this is too much, I'm done. And we kind of stop where we're at, and we decide it's not worth it. But if we push ourselves, get over that waterfall, do what's scary, at the bottom of that waterfall, it gets nice and smooth, and we continue on through life, and we realize that waterfall was just a little something instead of as big and scary as it wanted to be. There's also times where life seems to slow down or almost be non-existent. It gets really slow. We feel like we're just paddling through life, trying to keep up with life. And you know, as long as we keep up, a rain will come and pick it back up, and off we go. But it's really about what you choose to do in your own canoe. You can either choose to only go through the easy parts of life, and when you come to something hard, you decide, you know what, I don't want to do this, and you stop where you're at, and you're just living life way upriver, when all these other people who you see as more successful or happier or have made it through life, that it looks like a breeze, but it's not because it was a breeze the whole time. It's because we got to that obstacle, that waterfall, that tree in that river, and we decided we were going to get through it, get over it. And when we did, we realized it was easier on the other side. Or you see some people who are just breezing through life, man. It's coming natural to them. They're not even having to work. They're just going through life. But what they don't tell you is a year before that, they were paddling for their life, trying to keep up, trying not to get beached where life kind of stopped, you know. Brisker, get out of that water. It's too cold. But, you know, that's just kind of what we have to do. We have to decide how we're going to take on the river. How are you going to navigate around the river? Are you just going to let the river control you? Or are you going to get in your canoe, and are you going to make things happen and get to the end of that river, where the end of that river meets up with a bigger river, a smoother river? It could meet up with the ocean, and then it's nothing but smooth sailing from there. There ain't no obstacles in the ocean. That's your choice that you have to make. So I want to leave you with that. And just a little thought for the day. Are you going to let the river control you, or are you going to control your path down the river? I'll see you later, gentlemen. Brisker Mama's not going to be happy. He done got all wet. Oh boy.